Alright, in the previous video I dealt with 3 different external style sheets that are going to affect this web page right here. I have small.css, medium.css, and large.css. And you already hopefully copied all of that from the last video. This video, part 2, we are going to do open_index.html. This is what I named it. You can just name it index.html if you want. And since we already went over the small.css, the medium.css, and large.css, I'm not going to look at those again. So I closed those out of my Notepad++. As a reminder, this is what the page looks like when it's pulling the small style sheet, and when you stretch it, it's going to pull a medium style sheet. And when you stretch it some more, quite a bit more I guess, it's going to pick up a large.css style sheet. And you can play with the numbers of the width. You can even make a 4th and a 5th and a 6th style sheet if you want, and change the increments that cause the style sheet to be picked up. So I'm giving you this thing that I created because I want you to have a template to play with. I want you to play around with the numbers and the colors and the shadows and the border radiuses and all this other stuff. When you have the template to play with it, it makes learning programming a lot more fun. Okay, so open_index.html, or if you name yours index.html, whatever. HTML, head. Title says 7 days because this project is actually going to deal with 7 days worth of pages. Link, rel equals shortcut icon, href equals box/images /ball.ico, type equals image /x icon. I actually took this from a previous project that I made where the background image in this iframe was a tennis court, and all of these icons up here were tennis balls. And I changed it, but I forgot to change this shortcut icon. So let me see if I have another shortcut icon that I can use. I have to go into my actual where I have this whole thing. I have it in a folder called, look, okay, wait. This is the whole project that I'm working on right now. I have a folder called audio navigation because at the time that I created it, the code I was interested in is when you hover over an audio link, you hear an MP3 file. So therefore I named this folder audio navigation, but it is kind of morphed into all kinds of little pieces and parts. So somewhere down the line I'll probably change it, but since I know if I ever need to have the code for audio hover, I know that this is the folder that I need to look into. Alright, so enough of that explanation. Here is my open_index.html. This is the page that I'm showing you the code for, and I also said you can name this just index.html if you want. This is basically the landing page. You can even call it landingpage.html or home.html. Whatever you name it is totally up to you. Then I have a folder called box, and this is what you should do. So if you save this on your desktop, this index.html, open_index.html, home.html, whatever your landing page is, next to it create a folder called box, and then inside of that create these folders. Create a folder called sound, a folder called images, a folder called JS for our external JavaScript, a folder called pages for our HTML files, and a folder called style or styles. I guess styles makes more sense because there's more than one style in it, but that's completely up to you if you want that singular or plural. Now when I open up my style folder, you can see my small.css, my medium.css, and my large.css. And then I also created a default 1.css, but I'm not actually using that at the time. So that's how I organized my style sheets. So let me go back to box again. In pages, I'm not going to really deal with that right now. I'll deal with that in a further video, but just have the folder there for when we get to that part. Have the folder there for when we get to the external JavaScript. Images is kind of what I'm interested in right now. I have the sound folder also because I'll get to all of these different pieces and parts in separate videos. But right now I just want to change my ICO from ball.bmp to smile.ico. So I do have another ICO file, so I'm good. Alright, so smile.ico is what I want to change. So smile.ico. And as you can see, the path href equals, in double quotes, href equals box, / means we're going into another folder called images, and / means we're actually going to reach into that images folder and grab smile.ico. So when I save this here in my HTML file, and then I go to the web page and refresh, you can see that my little shortcut icon changed from the previous tennis ball to this smiley face that I created in Paint. Alright, meta name equals viewport, content equals width equals device / width, comma, initial dash scale equals 1.0. If you have to pause the video anytime, maybe I should just do that. I think I'll just do that. I'll highlight a section, I'll pause it, I'll let you type it up, and then I'll move on. So pause and type. That way you won't miss anything. Okay, hopefully you're done with that little segment. I don't know how much of this that I can actually fit. I can't really fit it all. So I'm just going to highlight this part, which you have a notation to yourself, CSS style sheets that depend on widths. So it's important that you give yourself comments in your code to remind you what the heck you're looking at. So pause this video and copy this exactly the way you see it, so I don't have to read it all as well. I'll save my voice, and besides, the monotone will put you to sleep. So just pause and copy. Okay, if you're done with that little ditty, we'll get to the third. So pause and copy this. This is the third style sheet. And once you finish all of this and you practice this, you can play around with the minimum width and maximum widths for each one. That way you can see exactly how it works on your own monitor, because everyone's got a different monitor. You might not have the same type of monitor as me, and you might want to grab your style sheet, your small, medium, or large, at a different range. My range for my small is 1 pixel to 700 pixels for small, and my medium range is 700 pixels to 1000, which was kind of far, because if you remember, I had to really stretch it before it hit my large. So I could actually make that from 700 to 800 or 700 to 900, and it might feel a little bit better. And then my range for the large style sheet is 1000 to 5000 pixels. So I'm like thinking about like somebody's huge TV screen or something. So that may have been taking it a bit far. But anyway, as long as you've got all three of these links that link to all three of our external style sheets, I'm going to move on. So if you haven't paused it all and typed it up already, then do so now, because I'm moving. Okay, this section right here we are not going to deal with in this video. This has to do with playing a sound, an MP3 file, on a mouse hover. And the mouse hover that I'm using is hovering over each one of these smiley faces. Each one of the smiley faces, when you click on it, is going to open up a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday or Saturday page of its own. But as you mouse over this, you can hear me just say Sunday, and then if I mouse over this one, you can hear me say Monday, and on and on and on. So it's a mouse hover. We're using an external JavaScript, and I'm not dealing with that at all. But put it in your code, because in a future video we're going to need this link. Alright, hopefully you've paused this and not listened to all my jibber jabber, and you've typed all this up. If you haven't, do it now, because I'm moving. This was a note to myself. You can add it if you want. I said when I put this style in the external CSS, the background image did not show up, so I put it back in the landing page here. Okay, so that must be an explanation for this style that I called Class 8. For no particular reason, I don't know why I decided Class 8, but I did. So, and it seems to be the only style that I have in this entire page. All of the other styles are being pulled from the small.css, medium.css, or large.css external style sheets. This is a style directly in this page. So pause this, type it up, and let's move on. Alright, if you're done with that, we've got the end of the head, the body, and I created a div with an ID of center. Make sure you type this up quickly, and then I'm going to move on, because all of these image links, they're going to have an awful lot of information in them. So I'm going to highlight and let you pause for each image link. Alright, moving on. Okay. How much room? This is the entire opening link. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. That's the A link, which stands for links, and that's the opening tag. Here's the closing A tag, the closing link tag, and in between the opening and closing link tag we have a little image here. And the image source equals box. Again, I told you I made a folder called box, and then I had another folder called images, and then there's that smile.ico. The same way I showed you where I found it in order to put it up here in the browser tab, it's also being pulled in right here to all 7 of those little circular smiley faces. So I've highlighted all of that. Pause this and type away. I see something here. I was looking for each one of these semicolons, which is the end of a statement, and I noticed that on the mouse over we didn't have a semicolon. Let me put that in there and double check. Oh, maybe we actually don't need it. Maybe we actually don't need it. On mouse over equals. Seems like we should have it at least on the inside there, because you have your on mouse over event and everything is inside of double quotes. Then you have your on mouse out event, and it actually has 2 statements. There's the semicolon for the first statement, there's the semicolon for the second statement. What happens, there's 2 different things that happen on mouse out. And then you have an on click, and all of that is set in double quotes, and there's the semicolon for that, those 2 statements, the style statement and the return true. I'm going to save this and refresh this page and make sure that this works. Okay, so I probably just forgot that semicolon. Okay. If you're finished, I'm going to move on to the next smiley face. Basically, if you want, you can copy and paste this entire code once you have it all typed up, and then just make whatever changes apply to this second one. Or you can type it all over again for the practice. But I'm not going to read it all. I'm going to let you pause this and type it up. I am, however, going to put that semicolon that ends the statement in there. Alright, hopefully you're done with this second one, because now I'm going to move on to the third image link. Here's the third image link, and I'm going to add that missing semicolon. Likely I missed the semicolon, and every time I copied and pasted this for the next one, I copied and pasted the missing semicolon. So every time I highlight the next one, I'm going to have to add that. Alright, if you're finished with this, I'm going to move on to the next. Here is the next. This is going to open up 4.html, which is going to refer to Wednesday. Alrighty, let's move on. Oh wait, I forgot to add that on mouse over semicolon. Okay, so if you're done with this, I'm moving on. If not, make sure you pause it. Alright, here's our image link that's going to open up 5.html page, and it's going to be referring to Thursday. We will deal with 1.html all the way to 7.html in another video. We have to do piece by piece here because there's just too much. There's just too much code. Alright, if you're finished with this, I'm going to move on, and we're almost done with these. Here is the code that's going to open up 6.html, which is going to represent Friday. So pause and make the changes that you need to. Like I said, you can be copy and pasting each of these sections and then just changing the little parts that you need to change. Just make sure that you're spelling whatever changes that I made correctly. Okay, if you're done with that, let's get to the next one. This is going to open up the 7th page, which is going to represent Saturday. And this will be the last little image link for the page. Alright, I hope that you have copied and pasted and made the changes, because I'm moving on to the rest of the code. Here we are ending the div that had the ID of center. So you could type that in really quick. And now I'm moving down. Let's see, how much can I put in here? I think I'll highlight just this part. Now we're creating a div with that class equals 8. And remember, I told you in the CSS I had to create a single class for this particular page, and it had to do with this image being a background for my iframe. So that's what this part's going to do. Plus, we're actually going to get into some audio code that is actually dealing with these mouse hovers that is playing the MP3s. I'm not going to go into much detail of that, but just go on ahead and copy it, because when I do get into the audio stuff, you'll already have the code. Pause and type it up. Okay, if you're done with that, we're going to make a move. I'm going to grab as much of this as I can. Okay, so this is dealing with audio of ID2, audio of ID3, audio of ID4, and audio with the ID2 is going to access an MP3 file that I have in a folder called Box. Inside that there's another folder called Sound, and inside that I created an MP3 called Monday.mp3. And as you look through the code, you can see Tuesday.mp3 and Wednesday.mp3. Okay, so if you have finished typing all that up, we're going to move on. We're almost at the end of this page. Here's the audio for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday MP3s. So pause and type this up, or copy and paste what you did earlier, and then just change the IDs and the name of the MP3s. And hopefully you're finished, because now I've got the last few lines of code. We've got one final div here, and there's a note. This div is for the sound 2, and this is going to deal with an external JavaScript for our hover, and I'm not dealing with that in this video, but if you type it up now, you're going to be good to go when I do deal with it. So this last little section right here that's highlighted, just pause the video, type it up, because that is going to complete this video for now. The next video I do, I guess it would make sense to go over the external JavaScript for these sound hovers. So that'll be in the next video.